Excellency, thank you so much for joining me. I want to kick off by giving you the chance to tell me about the World Economic Forum. What are the opportunities there for Saudi Arabia?
Absolutely. So the kingdom's always prioritizing engaging with the global community to foster more global dialogue. We realize that with time, with Vision 2030, we've become a more integrated member of the global economy. And as such, we have an opportunity to be a stronger force for good to shape a more prosperous future. So we'll continuously engage in Davos, in the World Economic Forum, in all multilateral venues and all opportunities to work with our partners, to share our transformation, what we're learning from it, to learn from other opportunities and experiences, but also to work together seriously on addressing some of the global challenges that we see today.
The power of economic diplomacy. In your mind, what are the opportunities for foreign direct investment? Because that's a pillar of Vision 2030.
So under Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia has become a global investment powerhouse. We are leveraging our diplomatic determination, our economic potential, our resources. A lot of countries are known for strengths. Some are known for strengths in natural resources, others in human resources. With time, the kingdom is becoming strong in both. But also the growing growth platform that Vision 2030 has built in the kingdom in order to fire up new engines of growth, new sectors, reinvigorate old sectors, and attract quality capital that wants to really grow, not just in terms of size, but also impact to the kingdom. No country on earth today is witnessing the vast opportunities that are being created in the kingdom. And they're not being created because we want to increase FDI. They're being created because we are on a serious mission to restructure our economy and unlock the human potential of people in Saudi Arabia.
Is Donald Trump good for the Saudi economy?
So we've always maintained a very strong relationship with the US. It's a long-standing partnership that lasted until today 8 decades. It's always been strong, no matter which administration is in office. We look forward to working with the second Trump administration, as we have worked with previous administrations, to address and counter some of the global challenges we're facing, including the tepid economic growth that we're witnessing as a global community today.
How concerned are you by the Trump administration's rhetoric when it comes to China?
Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned, the important thing to focus on is that we've always played a meaningful, constructive role with all our partners. We are steadfast in investing and fostering global dialogue. One of the things that makes Saudi Arabia unique as a long-term reliable partner is how much we value constructive partnerships across the board. We have a very strong relationship with the US and a very strong relationship with China and many strong relationships with many countries. And this has become even more clear after the launch of Vision 2030, after we started looking inwards and understanding what we need as an economy and society and know what we can offer to our partners, which has led to strong collaboration and growing strength in our partnerships, which we will continue to build on. That's one of the things the kingdom is known for and will continue to be known for.
So you're not worried about a Trump presidency and the impact it'll have on the Saudi economy?
We will continue to work with our partners, with our partners in the US and other countries, to make sure that our transformation is yielding the results we are aspiring to achieve, but also is offering the opportunities that could be attractive for a lot of countries and a lot of private enterprises and entrepreneurs and innovators and even academic institutions and think tanks from around the world. And we think that back and forth will always be front and center and will showcase the value of this partnership.
How concerned are you about oil price today and that trajectory? Because obviously that still has a great deal to do with your ability to reach those 2030 goals.
So if we take a step back, the important thing we're focusing on is unlocking the full potential of our economy and society. And we believe, to simplify, there's 2 ways to achieve that together. One is finally detaching our economic activity from having to rely on the price of a single commodity. In parallel, unlocking the full potential of people in the kingdom, to have a human-centric growth story. With time, that shift, that economic structure, will rely on all the resources that we have. And we talked about natural resources and the inflow that comes with it, but also more today than ever before, human resources and the potential that they're offering in the kingdom. So our approach to oil markets is about long-term stability. That's been our message, long-term market stability. We need to make sure that there is enough quality and clear supply and clarity of that supply that's meeting the growing demand, growing for many reasons. Even if you only look at the impact of generative AI and the impact of that on the global demand trajectory for energy. And that's what we will solve for as part of a larger group, OPEC+. As far as our reliance on oil, we'll continue working with our transformation towards relying less. Today, non-oil revenues represent a larger portion of our total revenue profile, and that will continue without adding more burden to the private sector, but by growing our non-oil economy. And we've instituted other tools that make us rely less with time on oil revenues, including we have institutions today, such as Sovereign Wealth Fund, the National Development Fund, that are supporting the private sector, crowding in private investment, growing new sectors, and so much more, that have their own budgets and their own long-term strategies, and that are delivering on them. More importantly, we want to make the shift to create more dynamism in the private sector so the private sector can truly lead the economic growth story in the kingdom. That takes time. We used to rely heavily on oil flows. Today we rely much less. In the future, we want to detach our economic growth activity and trajectory from having to rely on oil revenue completely, while still maintaining a global leadership role in the world of not just clean hydrocarbon energy, which is something we've demonstrated, but also more so renewable energy, transition solutions, climate tech, and so on.
You do rely on them a lot less, but you still rely on them. How worrying is U.S. energy dominance?
So as far as our role in the energy markets, our focus is on making sure there's enough energy supply, because we realize that energy security is imperative for global growth and global prosperity. So we'll continue playing that role. And we'll continue assessing whatever could impact the markets of oil and what we need to do as a country, but also as a member of OPEC+, to address whatever needs to be addressed to make sure that there's long-term supply.
Tell me this, when you take a step back and look at what's been achieved in the last several years towards the goals of Vision 2030, where is Saudi Arabia still falling short? Is it in terms of employing women?
If you look at Vision 2030 closely, you'll see that we're on track and we're gaining momentum. This is the 8th year, and the momentum is as strong, if not stronger, as when this was launched. And there is progress areas on all fronts. In the first wave of impact, the drive was coming mainly from political will and the right, bold decisions. That was complemented with investments, new regulations, new strategies to unlock the potential of old sectors, but also to start new sectors. And we're seeing the impact of that today, but we're just in the beginning. I'll take tourism just as an example. The decision to start the tourism sector, obviously we started the tourism sector and the tourism sector, the sectors associated to tourism, culture, sports, entertainment, for many reasons. One, we believe this is an economic birthright of the Saudi economy and society. Imagine any Western economy as an example without these sectors. It's very hard to imagine. Two, they serve as a soft infrastructure that can make the kingdom more relatable, more accessible, more open, that can help us attract not just more capital, more operations, but attract minds, entrepreneurs, innovators, thinkers to come and base in Saudi Arabia and grow, whether they want to grow their investments, their knowledge, their households, their families, whatever it is. We want them to view the kingdom as a place of growth. But that decision was taken a few years ago. In 2019, we managed to increase the level of inbound travel to the point where it went above our level of outbound travel for the first time in history. That was just before COVID. Right after COVID, I believe last year, inbound, or this year actually, inbound travel compared to outbound travel also is at a higher level by even a larger margin. Both increased. People are spending more, but people coming into the kingdom, our exported services in tourism have increased dramatically. Spend in tourism increased 40% over our numbers in 2022. Our GDP numbers in quarter two and quarter three wouldn't have been this strong if it weren't for that decision to start these new sectors. That's one example. Another example more on the human capital side. We're seeing more entrepreneurs, even Saudi entrepreneurs, coming back to the kingdom, rebasing in the kingdom, in the region or from outside of the region, who want to start opportunities here. Saudi students who used to jump at the opportunity to learn abroad, which we believe is a great thing, to learn wherever you can get the best knowledge and education.
But bring it home.
And bring it home or continue being leaders in other economies. That's fine. I think it's a personal choice. But remain connected, I think, to the country, of course. But with time, we're seeing people hesitant to leave the country. They want to study where they can apply their knowledge on the job training in the opportunities that are being created in the kingdom.
They want to be a part of the future.
And part of the action that's happening on the ground today. And that's just another example. And there are many examples to demonstrate the progress. Is the job done? Not yet. The mission is not accomplished. We are looking at our success and our progress with pride. We're not over-celebrating. We know the job is still in the middle of the journey, and there's a lot more serious work to be done.
Talk to me about the investments in artificial intelligence. How will AI fundamentally change Saudi's economy?
So the kingdom is focusing on addressing and steering disruptive innovations. We believe in investing in digital capabilities. In the past, we've invested in digital infrastructure that led to the growth today, especially in the startup scene of fintech and e-commerce. Some of the largest startups in the region in fintech are Saudi-based, and the growth numbers are huge. Venture capital in 2023, MENA-wide, was led by the kingdom, and it was mainly driven by these two areas. The first international venture capital deals were drawn into, and the big brand names that were drawn into e-commerce and fintech. I'm very proud of that, and we believe more innovation will come from that. So that will continue. We believe in innovation and its impact on unlocking economic potential locally and globally. As far as artificial intelligence, we believe the kingdom will be a leader in this field in the future. We're trying to focus on three themes. One is investing for strategic and financial returns, so making the right investments, and that has begun already. Two, being a larger part of the global value chain in generative AI, and the kingdom has a lot to offer in that area, whether it's
What does
land.
that look like?
So there's a lot to offer in terms of the land that's available,
For data centers?
the energy for data centers, and additional services around it as well. The access to renewable energy. Sometimes it's hard to export green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, but it's probably easier to bring the energy closer or bring the facilities closer to where the energy is. So we can export compute rather than exporting energy specifically. And the regulatory environment. The kingdom has a competitive, agile regulatory environment that can compete with most environments. But more importantly, the third theme is for the kingdom's public sector and the private sector to be super or power users of the value that comes from generative AI. Generative AI is best utilized in terms of value the closer it is to use cases. And the kingdom has many sectors where we've accumulated so much knowledge and data over decades that can, matched with AI, can be a source for our global either performance or global export potential. I'll name three of them, or two of them. One is energy. We've accumulated a lot of knowledge in energy. We've become leaders in clean hydrocarbon energy, and we will continue to invest in it so that we are leaders in not just renewable energy, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, carbon capture, utilization, sequestration, but other technologies and solutions needed for a just and orderly and a pragmatic energy transition. Number two is healthcare. We've invested so much in healthcare, We've spent so much in healthcare over decades. We've accumulated so much knowledge. Most of our trainees are relied upon in international healthcare systems. The people who train in the kingdom and then go to other countries are some of the best in their fields. Some of the first surgeries that were done using robotics have been done by Saudi teams in Saudi Arabia. And we're only getting started if we focus more. One of our private sector healthcare providers has recently signed with an international Ministry of Health to export their hospital information systems, Habib Healthcare. And that's a prime example of how a technology programmed by Saudis in the 90s today became a superior tool in the world of healthcare. Match that with the power of AI and the use cases that can come from healthcare and the need for treatment and screening and longevity and life extension, the potential is immense.
Talk to me a bit about the minerals sector beyond oil. When we talk about how Saudi Arabia could potentially become a conduit between East and West in the search for rare earth minerals, His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz, the Minister of Energy, recently announcing that Saudi Arabia would enrich uranium for export. That'll raise a lot of eyebrows. How does that factor in to the health of the Saudi economy?
So if we go back to what we said with regards to unlocking the potential of the kingdom's economy, we talked about planning, the importance of planning with confidence, delivering with optimism, and we believe optimism is a strategic choice. Optimism is not just a gut reaction or an emotion. It is a choice. By design, you want to be optimistic. More importantly, managing with prudence. You'll see that our focus is on firing up new sectors, new engines of growth, reinvigorating other ones. The kingdom has been sitting on a lot of mineral reserves. Today, what's being witnessed today, especially these few days in the Future of Minerals Forum, in terms of advancements in the mining sector, are happening at a pace faster in the last few years than they did in the decades before that. The kingdom wants to be a leader in not just innovation, but also in being an integral part of the global value chain, not just investing locally, but investing globally and being a leader in the thought process and the progress of the thinking around the mining sector and where it's going, for many reasons. We want to avail material here that can make our industrial complex more attractive and attract more industry to be based in the kingdom. But also we want to make sure that we have access to the critical materials for our current industries and to remain competitive. And that's part of our ambition to become, which we're very much focused on, a global industrial and logistics platform. At the heart of everything, we want to be able to diversify our source of growth by allowing and pushing the private sector to be able to export more products that are more complex, that have a higher value add in the kingdom, competitively into external markets. And mining plays a big role in that approach.
And you're not worried about the geopolitical implications of that?
Well, if we're going to continue to foster global dialogue, and we'll continue relying on dialogue and common ground and collaboration, we believe that any challenges that we might face can be addressed in that regard. Ultimately, we want to be a constructive force of good for the advancement and unlocking of the potential of many sectors, including this one.
Tell me this. Saudi Arabia, obviously the biggest economy in the region. When you speak to, as I do, leaders from surrounding nations, they say, when Saudi Arabia is doing good, we are all doing good. How does the health of the Saudi economy, in your mind, play into regional stability?
So our drive to shape a more prosperous future comes from this. The kingdom has always played a leadership role globally and a leadership role in the region. It's always been a force for more stability and more peace and more security in the region and globally. Today we're more integrated, and we realize that any success we may have will have a serious and direct impact on the region, but also on the globe, and vice versa. Any changes that happen to the global economy or the regional environment could have an impact on our plans and ambitions. So we're dealing with this on two tracks. One where we directly engage with global partners to make sure that as far as the region goes, We lay a clear and irreversible path towards more security, more peace, and ultimately more prosperity, but also across from the region, or let's say outside of the region, play a meaningful role in addressing global challenges, economic, geopolitical alike. We've seen that when the kingdom led the G20, during the G20 presidency. We've seen that today as the kingdom, through the Minister of Finance, heads the IMFC, all focusing the committee for status on the Committee on the Status of Women and many other venues where the kingdom is being relied on to address and lead in addressing some of the global challenges. Indirectly, but closer to home, the success of Vision 2030, the success of this long-term transformation is important for unlocking the potential of the kingdom as an economy and a society, but also because a stronger Saudi will lead to a stronger Middle East, and we believe a stable Middle East is imperative for global growth and global prosperity.
And finally, Your Excellency, when you think about this with regards to the broader themes of the World Economic Forum, a lot of conversation surrounding China, a lot of conversation surrounding interest rates, the amount of capital at large today, and how investors can find returns. What does all of that mean for Saudi Arabia in that you got a lot more to do before 2030? You are on track, as you say. What headwinds do you anticipate?
If you take a step back, we like to look at the world, or like to look at things in two lenses. One is more data-driven, evidence-driven, telling us where we are today and why. And the other is about future prospects, future potential, and what we need to do today to unlock the potential of the youth and future generations. Under the first lens, if you look closer, you'll see that the world is going in two directions. One that is settled into this economic stalemate. We have growth between 2.7 and 3.2 expected, projected, but it's tepid growth, as some of the experts call it. And two, and sometimes the same people who are commenting on this tepid growth, including us, we're talking about the potential of technological disruption, the potential for bold leadership to change the world, to address creating new opportunities for growth, AI's impact, etc. But it's continuously two modes. If we kind of focus on the second lens and say, what do we need to do today, we'll realize that we need to really embrace innovation. We need to embrace addressing the challenges of the global south. We need to address having more opportunities for intrepid leadership to get us out of the tepid growth profile we are having today. We need to create new sectors, reinvigorate old ones, and that will get us out of where we are. And if you look closely at Vision 2030 and the Saudi story, you'll see it as an evidence point of a country with intrepid leadership that has decided, at that time, even remember how things were not as, I'd say, positive as an environment as they are today. There was a lot of headwinds there, even more in some cases, that decided to be optimistic, decided to put in the work to live up to that optimism and unlock its potential of its economy and society, and play an even more constructive, more active role in the global community to address some of its challenges. I think that's important. We will continue to be steadfast in playing the role that we always want to play, which is a role of a long-term reliable partner that is adamant to shape a more prosperous future.
And so 2025 will be a good year for Saudi Arabia in terms of the numbers?
Our projections for 2025 is that obviously this momentum is still continuing. Our non-oil growth in 2024 was 3.9%. Our non-oil growth for 2025, we project it to be 4.8%, and 2026, 6.2%. What's important is not just what we achieve in 2025, it's also what we're laying the ground for in terms of achieving in the long term. This is a long-term marathon that we're very serious about, and we have the agility to run sprints here and there to make sure we capture the opportunities as they arise.
Your Excellency, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Adley.